What is going on, Clippers fans? Welcome to Season 3, Episode 36 of Clips and Dip. I am Chuck Bachler, joined by Adam Osmond. William Updike is in Montana. He's not with us today, but he will be with us later in the week. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If you caught the earlier stream today after the Kawhi practice news over at youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast. If you want to go watch that, you can. It was a good time. We're going to be talking about that today. We're going to be talking about the Clippers playing the Mavs, which is 2 games. So you kind of get 2 game previews in one, which is nice. But before we get into that, Adam, Kawhi Leonard is practicing fully. He's traveling with the team to Dallas and to Memphis. He will not be playing, but he is traveling. I know we've talked about it quite a bit today. How does it feel at 5:02 p.m.? Are you as excited? It's a great day for Clippers injury news all around.
Yeah, I just saw the social media post where Kawhi is getting on the plane, so we can confirm
Real.
he is traveling with the team. He's back on the plane. And that's also a big test just to see how his knee handles the travel, because air travel isn't always so good for these injuries. So them seeing that as a possibility right now, or as something that's okay to do, Coach Lou said he's 100%. I mean, Law Murray asked him that, and he said, yeah, he feels good. Now, we'll find out how he feels tomorrow after going through more rigorous training. It's just step by step here, going through full contact 5-on-5 training today at practice is different than anything else he's done so far on that right knee, to our knowledge.
Yes, to our knowledge. The response, this is another one of the boxes, right? The full contact practice. And then the next box is the response. Hopefully we get the news that he's practicing with the team, in just the normal capacity as he did today while they're in Dallas, and things like that. But pretty awesome. Feels great, to be honest. Getting that news today felt great. It also coincided with Derrick Jones Jr. Being seemingly ahead of schedule. It seems like he should be returning around maybe the same time Kawhi returns, which a lot of people are, I don't want to say signaling because that feels too aggressive, but the 27th, all signs feel like it's pointing to Kawhi returning on the 27th against the Warriors. And
DJ might be back sooner. He's
yeah,
questionable for tomorrow's game on the injury report now, and sounds like he's way ahead of schedule. He didn't participate in everything at practice. He was limited, but maybe he goes in game 2 against Dallas, or maybe he goes against Memphis on Monday. That would be huge.
we're going to talk about how huge he would be versus Dallas, because we're short on large defenders for that game for a team that has one particularly large guy who we need to stop. Before we get into the Dallas stuff, we're very excited about the Kawhi stuff. We're recording this after the Clippers just obliterate the Jazz, a game that we were not worried about, but cautiously optimistic. We could have been a little more optimistic after what happened.
Yeah,
Did that
Jazz, you made us look like idiots. You guys got crushed.
did that game go so well that there's not a lot to take away from it? And I don't mean that in a mean way, but Harden had 41. He was nuclear. The defense did what they were like. Is it almost like a game where they got blown out, where it's like not burn the tape because you won, but just say,
Yeah,
hey,
it's
great
almost
job, keep it moving?
the opposite of like the Boston game or the second Minnesota
Right.
game at Intuit Dome, where what are you supposed to do with this? How do you learn from this? Now, you can say we learned James Harden in those 8 days off finally came into effect, really. The first game back against the Denver Nuggets, he didn't look great. But that last game, the step back over and over again, and it just seemed like to me, I don't have the sports science on this, but he was getting a little bit more lift out there
Yeah.
on those 3-pointers that he was taking. And he felt really comfortable taking that shot over and over again. And Coach Lou said post game, he had told him to not sell the foul as much and just get the shot up. And he has been hard on James Harden with some things here. And that was really cool to hear. And then the way it played out with him knocking down, what was it? Do you have 7 threes? But he
And he
was
got fouled on like at
4.
least 3. Yeah. Like,
It was an incredible performance, and it kind of shows what we thought might have been too much time off maybe it will pay dividends here down the line in the upcoming games
Mhm.
as they have a couple of really tough ones.
Yeah, the Mavs. So Luca didn't practice today, which is interesting from the Mavs' perspective. I very much like the Clippers' chances if Luca doesn't play. Assuming Luca plays, because that's how things go. The Mavs are a pretty damn good team on paper. It pains me to say. Fourth in the Western Conference. They're fourth in offensive rating. They're 11th in defensive rating. They're holding teams to 45% from the field, which is fifth best in the league. They're a top 10 offensive rebounding and offensive rebounding percentage team. So it's like a real percentage. Fourth in field goal percentage, sixth in 3-point percentage, fifth in free throw attempts. This we mentioned, missing Derek Jones Jr. is big for this one because he would be very helpful. But starting with the starting lineup, do you think Batum starts? Because the big matchups are going to be, I'm assuming, Batum on Luka and Dunn on Kyrie.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I think that makes a lot of sense. And that's why Coach Lue, when he was being asked early on after DJ went down, who are you starting in place of him? Is it going to be Amir? Is it going to be Batum? Is it going to be matchup dependent? And this is one where it calls, put up the Batum signal. I would
Yeah,
think
it's a
Nico
baguette
Batum.
in the sky.
He should be the man for this job. He'd be the right guy for this job against Luka Doncic. Aside from the fact that he's so familiar with him, just having the bigger body out there, I'd feel good about that. And I don't know how many minutes he ended up playing against Utah, but it couldn't have been much, as Amir Coffey obviously was the guy who was playing late in that game just because they only dressed 11 guys. So even though
16
Amir was
minutes.
starting, what
Played
do you play?
16 minutes.
And
It
so
was
he's
great.
well rested. And Amir actually had to play late in that game against Utah, even though he started and they were up by 30 plus, just
Right.
because they didn't have anybody else. It was
Yeah.
him and like Kai and Bose and yeah, KPJ and Jordan Miller. Like, so I would go Nico Batum. I would think that's going to be Coach Lue's call.
And if the whistle's crazy, which it has been weird on Nico Batum, it's nice to have Amir there. He's also going to be someone to make them think about along the perimeter and stuff like that. He's had a good season. Dunn on Kyrie is going to be an all-out battle, which I'm very excited to watch. I think Dunn's going to come out ahead. We hope his injuries and illness is better, but he's going to have like the toughest assignment of anybody on defense outside of whoever's guarding Luka, if Luka plays. But Dunn is going to be asked to do a lot. I think he can, but that is a fascinating matchup.
I wouldn't be surprised also if he's on Lucas some of the time. That's somebody that can guard obviously multiple positions at such a high level. And yeah, it's always the dungeon is an interesting subplot to each and every Clippers game now. Who's
Yes.
Chris Dunn guarding? Because whether or not that guy has the ball, if you're watching the way Chris Dunn is guarding his man, eventually he's going to get into the play. Because
Yeah.
even if he's guarding someone else and they don't have the ball, he's going to jump a passing lane. He's going to help out on someone. It's really incredible the effort and the amount of energy that he gives on the defensive end. It's special. I think really he might be their best perimeter defender ever, honestly. And
It's
I,
close.
I mean, like
Kawhi
Kawhi at
Leonard.
his best might be, but I think he's better than Patrick Beverley. I do because of his size,
I was
and he
just, yeah,
doesn't.
he's a little bigger. Yeah.
I don't think he gambles and takes as many chances as Patrick Beverley did, which sometimes got him into trouble. I love Pat
Mhm.
Bev. He's an all-time favorite Clipper of mine.
Bev, a
But
great
I
shooter. Yeah.
think just off skill set and the amount of guys he can guard and the way he baits people into thinking that he's not going to be there or not going to be able to cover that ground, and then he gets back into the passing lane. I don't know. It is like this is one of the special defenders in the modern era.
Yeah, and he'll have to be at the top of his game tomorrow and on Saturday for the Clippers to get a win against Dallas. I wouldn't be surprised if they split this 2-game thing. If Derek Jones Jr. comes back, I like their chances in that game a lot more than a game without Derek Jones Jr. Zubac's had his bounce back game that we kind of wanted from him against the Jazz. He puts up 19 and 12. 2 great blocks. He's going to be leaned on for sure. If their defense is playing better than the 11th, which isn't bad, we're going to need to go to him for those easy buckets and stuff like that. I'm wondering who's guarding Harden for the Mavs. I think Kyrie's too small.
Washington?
Okay. That makes
PJ
sense.
Washington?
Yeah. They're going to try and get, I mean, we talk about this every time we play Luka. They're going to try and get Luka switched onto Harden, or they should. They need to put Luka in as much defensive stuff as possible. They had Luka on Andrew Wiggins their last game out versus the Warriors. And so I'm wondering, they're going to put Luka on Nico? Like,
yeah, they'll try to hide him. And, you know, when we talk about a team that is playing this well in the Dallas Mavericks and has a defensive rating like this, it does tell you that obviously they have 2 guys that are known as sieves defensively in the starting lineup.
Right.
In Luka and Kyrie. But I said going into that series last year, guys, they are playing better defense than you realize. You can't have this defensive rating if there's 2 of your 3 players out there that are that bad on defense. It doesn't make sense. So he has been giving a better effort there, and they kind of turned things around after that slow start. They were hanging around 500. Yeah. Now they've taken off. Last 10 games, they're the number 2 offense in the league. So they're playing tremendous basketball right now. It's a scary opponent, and I also think, like the Clippers, they have really good vibes. They have great chemistry.
They do.
And that gets Luka and Kyrie to buying in to playing defense too, I think, just like it does with James Harden at times. Yes, it's selective with these type of guys that are asked to do so much on the offensive end, but it's not nothing either. Like, they aren't 30th defensively. They're 11th.
Norm is going to be an issue for Dallas. We saw they had Kyrie on Steph for the majority of their last game, which I thought was interesting. Obviously, Norm doesn't do as much for the overall offense, that Steph has responsibility-wise. But shooting-wise, you're going to want to knock Norm off his rhythm if you're the other team. The Nuggets had Jamal Murray, who did a great job on him 2 games ago. Obviously, the Jazz are horrible at defense, so we're not going to talk about that. But this backcourt kind of poses an issue. I like the issues that our backcourt poses for the Mavs, because if Batum's able to hit his shot, if they're, sagging off him or something like that, and Norm is able to not, get knocked off his rhythm physically, it's like, it's kind of a problem, or could be, I should say, kind of a problem.
Yeah, I don't hate, seeing a team like this at this time.
Yeah.
Because first of all, the Clippers are coming off a big blowout victory where their confidence is at an all-time high and everybody found a groove. Mm-hmm. That game was incredible because even though James Harden has 41 and 24 points in the first quarter, Carlo Jimenez brought this up, but it's amazing how everybody else was able to stay in the flow of the offense and be that efficient at the same time while one guy's doing that much damage. Everybody else was still touching the basketball. Everybody else was still in a rhythm. So I like the way they're heading into Dallas. That could change after tomorrow night.
Sure. Yeah, leaving might be different, but yeah.
Yeah. Be careful what you wish for. But it's getting worse here. Oh. You hear me all right, Chuck?
Yeah, I got you. There's an alert going off.
I lost you there for a second.
Oh, no, I'm good.
No, this is the right time for this. And Coach Lue stressed something else again earlier today at practice that we've been talking about a bunch, Charles, which is if there was a time to have all these injuries going on, the best timing was now. Yeah. There's no perfect time, but the best time would be right now in the schedule because the guys are missing the fewest amount of games possible that are out because they have so many few games on the schedule at the moment.
Yeah, it's weird. It's all kind of coming together for the Clippers, which none of us are really used to, with Kawhi coming back and Derek Jones Jr. and Terrence Mann not having to miss as many games as we thought. I
can't believe DJ is questionable. I thought for sure he's out the next 3.
I don't know if astonishing isn't the right word, but it is surprising, I would say. I'm a little cautious about it because it is a hamstring. It's not something that you necessarily want to play with. And maybe, maybe I don't know if tomorrow's result dictates if he'll be back for Saturday. But the rotation, this is a great segue. We're going to do a quick little ad break before we talk about the bench, because being down these guys on the bench is kind of a nightmare. So if you're listening to us on audio, this will be a quick break. Then we're coming back and talking the Clippers versus Mavs bench battle. It's going to take place on Thursday and Saturday. We got ads coming up in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back in. You're tuned in with Clips and Dip. I'm Adam Moslem. We got Chuck Mockler. No Will Updike for this one, but Clippers in Dallas for a 2-game mini series starting tomorrow night. Kawhi Leonard, the big news earlier today, he's traveling with the team. He participated in full contact at practice, was doing 5-on-5 stuff. So good news, bad news, I guess. It's overall a net positive.
Oh,
Kawhi participated in full contact and is traveling with the team, but he's not playing on the road trip. Oh, well, we will take it. Everything seems to be lining up for December 27th if there are no setbacks. So you want to talk about some of the backups and the lack of production we've been getting in that area, Chuck?
Yeah, so the Clippers are, and I say this respectfully, somehow 12th in bench scoring this year, I believe I got that from StatMuse. The Mavs are 20th, but we're roster crunched right now. Like without Derek Jones Jr., who would be a starter, and that would obviously push Amir Nico still on the bench, and Terrence Mann, who was a defensive stalwart, off the bench and starting to get his rhythm. Like this, it has me uneasy. It's had us uneasy the last couple games. Like this is a game where Will Updike talks about it a lot. We need that one guy to be at 15 to 20% over what he usually is. Because, the rotations have gotten wonky, and Dallas is a pretty big team, and our bench, if we're running these multiple guards lines up, like I'm just curious what Ty's rotations are going to be, right? Like we can't run KPJ and Bones together, I don't think, against this team.
I would hope not. Especially KPJ looked pretty bad the other night.
Yes.
From the very beginning, he missed his first 7 shots against Utah. There was one bad performance against the Utah Jazz, pretty much. And it was Kevin Porter Jr., who came in and just didn't seem focused. He was so careless with the basketball.
He got
had
a tech. I was like, why are you getting a tech right now, dude? We're up like 30. Just let whatever is happening go.
It felt like a severe lack of seriousness out there by him in that game against the Utah Jazz. He's got to be more locked in. If Bones Highland gets run, I'm guessing it's with him off the court. Bones has to be more consistent with his play, possession to possession too. Those two guys, unfortunately, during this time with Terrence Mann out and with DJ out too, nobody's really set themselves apart. Even Jordan Miller has struggled the last 2 games.
You're not wrong.
And I was really hoping, the stay ready mentality, next man up mentality that this Clippers team has. It's not like they're not giving effort or anything like that. Just nobody's really caught a groove. Nobody is, put a spotlight on them and said, hey, what about me for more minutes? Because I'm proving something right now with the guys who are out. That hasn't happened. Nobody's really emerged, and that's a little bit disappointing. And from a bench that already, is lacking some consistency, and especially from a scoring perspective, where they're often seen with Ivica Zubac out there just to have somebody for some stability, and somebody that you can go to get a bucket. But outside of that, I just don't know what Kevin Porter Jr. is doing possession to possession, or how he's going to perform possession to possession sometimes, and that just seems a little bit scary. Like it is a wide variance and a wide spectrum with his play.
Do you think we get a crunched down rotation tomorrow night? We saw all the normal starters, right, with Amir in there, and then Nico, KPJ, Bamba, Jordan Miller, Bones. I'm not counting Kai because he played 5 minutes. I don't know if with Kawhi coming back, I would not be surprised if we see a shortened rotation with Kawhi coming back soon-ish, I should say. Don't want anyone to clip that and take it out of context. Do we think, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a shorter rotation. just to kind of see how people are reacting. I don't know, maybe one of the games, because we can't, that bench makes me nervous.
Well, they only dressed 11 guys for that game against the Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
And everybody scored except Kai, who got in late.
So funny.
I don't know if anybody has made their case or really stood out enough to hold on to a role while you're missing two really key rotation role players in Terrence and DJ. Somebody has got to step up in these two games in Dallas. To your point about what Will always talks about, somebody's got to play above their heads. Somebody has to, give Coach Lue some confidence in them that this is a decent matchup against Dallas, and I can go to this guy and just know what I'm going to get. And I would love to see that be KPJ or Jordan Miller. I just don't know how much Bones is going to play to begin with. So I'll start with those two guys, but maybe it's just Amir Coffey. Maybe if Batum is starting this game, that means he's probably starting Saturday against Luka. And we don't know if he's starting tomorrow night, but it's just conjecture. We're guessing he's starting against Luka Doncic. But Amir Coffey was really good once again against Utah. He found his shooting stroke. And I think that's significant. That's a big deal because when this Clippers team was getting by, and we've talked about them playing above their heads, Amir Coffey has been a big part of that. He's shooting 41% or over that from the field or from three so far this season. If Amir could just have a really good 2-game series against Dallas, who, by the way, didn't play well in that playoff series. I wonder if individually this is something maybe he's circling. Like, you know what? I gotta do better against this team. Now they don't have Derrick Jones Jr. out there, of course. It's different, but I'd love to see Amir Coffey, average 13 per game against Dallas.
That would be, I forgot. He played really bad against Dallas. Guy who worries me on their bench because I feel like he has a good game against us every time we play, Daniel Gafford. You talk about testing the Clippers' backup center, power forward depth. Daniel Gafford's going to do that Thursday and Saturday. The defense on him is going to be interesting. Mo Bamba's going to have to be at his best, whatever version of that is.
Gafford's lead percentage.
Right, it's like 70+%.
Yeah.
It's kind of insane. I'm worried about him. Spencer Dinwiddie is a guy who I'm like, I never know what to expect. Usually it's bad, is my vibe with Spencer Dinwiddie. But I'm worried about Gafford. And Quentin Grimes had a pretty solid game off the bench for them last time. I haven't watched a bunch of the Mavs. He hasn't had like an elite season really, but he's shooting 41% from three, which worries me. I'm just, what we talk about putting Luka into action. They're going to want to put whoever our backup guards are and center, which is going to be Bamba, into a bunch of action. So like the bench minutes, winning the non-Luka minutes, obviously crucial. Winning the non-Kyrie minutes, crucial. But these bench minutes, man, I'm hoping, maybe I'm being too pessimistic. We just got to break even in these all bench minute lineups. And I'm counting that like if Amir or Nico's out there, whoever started.
Yeah. Maybe, Ivica Zubac gets even more time with the bench, and him coming off that big game and him being more of a focal point gets them to lean into Big Zoo offense with the second unit, because he actually was good against Dallas in that playoff series, especially when they actually tried to feature him. That game one, he was their best player, Dallas, and he was feasting against Lively and Gafford. Lively was dealing with a lot of personal stuff in that first round series, but Gafford was no match for him. Big Zoo, if he gets up for these two games, are the solution, just staggering him and having him start the second quarter. The bench.
I like that idea a lot, actually, having him start the second quarter, because we just need that kind of calming presence, like from the defensive side and the offensive side. Just get it into Zoo, and we'll see what happens. I'm excited for these games. Like you were saying, it's a perfect kind of momentum to go into these. We all hate the Mavericks. It's Chris Dunn and Luke kind of have history, which I forgot about. The Law of the Jam posted that clip. Both of them got teed up at one point when he was on the Jazz. So like I like that. I'm sure Terrence Mann and is telling Chris Dunn all he can about guarding Luka, and they're sharing secrets and stuff. So I wish these were in LA, obviously, but this is a real litmus test for this Clippers team right now. I know we're out Derek Jones Jr. and Terrence Mann, and there's kind of some built-in excuses or whatever should things not go well for both of these games. But I think they split, and I think we're going to learn a lot about what they look like against an upper echelon, maybe not quite elite team.
Yeah, and well, no, I mean, they made the finals last year, and they look really good now. It took some time. They look elite lately, you could say, I guess.
Fair.
They look
No,
that good
totally.
lately.
Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah.
And they have the high-end talent. If Luka's playing, he has a heel injury he's been dealing with, but he played through it spectacularly against the Golden State Warriors in their last victory, where they had 80 points at the half, I think. They were going off. Like, I wonder what it does just having Kawhi Leonard with them on the road trip and knowing that the cavalry is on the way. They are getting close. Because we've talked about in the past how when role players are asked to do so much more, because Kawhi and Paul George have been out so frequently, it takes its toll and it can be defeating and demoralizing. I wonder now if this is the shot in the arm that they need, having Kawhi with them, knowing that he's coming and wanting to be sharp and wanting to have your timing right. So when Kawhi comes in, it's not too much of an adjustment period because you're already doing the things the right way out there on the court. And Kawhi is one of the highest IQ basketball players ever. And that's not going to be an issue for him to mesh with the team that's already clicking.
Yeah, and it makes it easier for Kawhi, right? There's going to be a little bit of rust just because he's coming back from so long. But, if everyone else is doing their job, it's the best possible scenario. Now we get to the most important part of the night, our player of the game picks for the 2-game series. I said I was going to do a live after the Jazz game if the Clippers lost. They ended up winning. So I will be doing a live after the game tomorrow night. Adam, who is your player of the game pick? Since we cannot pick James Harden, Norm Powell, or Ivica Zubac.
I think I talked myself into it. I'm going Amir Coffey revenge tour in Dallas.
Hell yeah.
Everything's bigger in Dallas, including retribution. Or in Texas.
That sounds like a tagline for a Walker Texas Ranger movie. Including
Amir Coffey is going to roundhouse those guys.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm going to go Chris Dunn, and it's going to be it feels like an easy pick because if Chris Dunn has 2 good games, I feel pretty confident in the Clippers having 2 good games in Dallas. He's going to be a menace against Kyrie. He's going to annoy Luka and just shoot 34% from 3. Just shoot 34% from 3 with these 2 games. Keep being a bully in the paint with your offense, and I will be pretty hyped on that. If Will were here, I think he would probably pick. He picked Amir last time, and that didn't go very well.
Let's give him KPJ. We joked about it. Let's do it.
Will, you picked KPJ. He'll make 3 threes and hopefully play normal good defense and get boards in each game. Really quick, how are we feeling about the Memphis game on Monday? Just very broad strokes. Memphis, a difficult team kind of to match up for this Clippers team because they're young and they're spry.
Memphis is another team that has found themselves. I think they had won something crazy, 12 of 13 before losing to the Lakers.
Yeah.
They just didn't show up at all. Memphis, I said one team everybody's forgetting about when you talk about the Western Conference is the Memphis Grizzlies, when healthy, the last 2 times were a top 3 seed.
Right.
They just hadn't been healthy to forget about them after what happened last season. Memphis is right back in the mix of looking like a top 4 team in the Western Conference. They're that good. And
they're the 2 seed
what would be
right
interesting. Now? I think they're 2 or 3.
Yeah, they're 18 and 9. I was just looking at it. Yeah, they're 2 by a half game.
the one thing that always, traditionally gave the Clippers so many problems, though, was their perimeter defense with quick guards like Ja Morant over the years. But with the way this team is constructed, if they get Derrick Jones Jr. back for that game, if they have, Chris Dunn and him out there in the starting lineup, I feel much better about going up against a guy like Ja now. I don't fear those guys as much, him, De'Aaron Fox, like I used to in past years with the way this Clippers team is now put together.
Yeah, I like that. We have again, back to the Chris Dunn thing, right? We have a guy who can really kind of make it difficult for him. I'm feeling cautiously optimistic. Memphis, they're just a good ass team. We'll have a post game.
Coach Lue called those two guys as shutdown corners.
Yeah.
He always calls them KD, Chris Dunn, and DJ, Derrick Jones Jr. Who are the good corners for the Dolphins in the 90s? They had two really good corners.
Oh, man.
Late 90s, early 2000s.
Not Chambers.
They were solid. Oh, was Patrick Surtain there?
Yes, Patrick Surtain was there. You talking about JB Brown?
No. I'm going back. Like, this may be late 90s. Dolphins cornerbacks. I really like these guys. I think Sam Madison.
Oh, yeah. Sam Madison is Dolphin. Great. He was a beast.
Yeah. I don't know. Sorry.
No worries.
I tried to relate. And look what happened. Damn it. I'm even wearing my Dolphin shirt.
Well, I appreciate that. They should just lose so they can get a better draft pick, but that's a conversation for a different podcast. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out. We're going to have a live stream on Thursday after the game. Adam will be on Clippers Talk. We're probably going to do a new episode on Tuesday, maybe Sunday if holiday things fall into place. I don't know. There's also going to be a post-game live hang on Monday as well. If you watched the Henny Ween streams, this next week is going to be that same vibe, but Christmassy, because I have an entire week of work off and I'm hanging out. So bring your favorite Christmas drink to these lives. You can listen to us anywhere you get podcasts. We appreciate it. If you'd like to watch us, you can watch us at youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast. Any subscribe, any interaction, we love it. Adam, before we get out of here, one positive thing for the Clippers, which I think I might know what you're going to reference, and then we will send these people on their way.
I'm going to reference the Clippers playing lights out, baby!
All right. More props.
Sorry. It did work last time, though. They did play lights out against Utah. I mean, how about lights on for the thinkers? The light bulbs back on for this team. This is a team they know very well in the Dallas Mavericks that they have played undermanned against in the past. I like you think they're going to somehow get the split against Dallas. They need to, because and just you got to go at least 1-2 on this way to get a victory. It's not going to be easy, but I think they're going to scrap their way to a victory in Dallas.
Let's do it. Let's scrap our way to a victory in Dallas. We will scrap together a live hang after the game tomorrow. Thank you all for hanging out. Check out the lives that we both did on Clippers Talk and today if you want to see some genuine hype from Clippers fans about Kawhi returning hopefully on the 27th. As always, it's been a pleasure. I've been Chuck Bockler, and